Hi investigators, Mike Evans with episode 287 of Spy Curious, and today we are looking at if you are covered for operating your drone by your insurance. So these things are a lot of fun. They're also a lot of responsibility, and we use them a lot in our work as investigators. So we will address that question. A quick reminder, everybody, at the Academy, we are currently supporting Queensland, New South Wales governments in their approach to coercive control and ensuring that licensed private investigators are aware of their responsibilities when being engaged to conduct marital and relationship surveillance. So we just got to play the short video first. So in Queensland, there were two cases during submissions to the Women's Safety Council, who helped put together the coercive control legislation in Queensland, where licensed private investigators were engaged by narcissists in relationships to harass their female partners via surveillance, listening devices, installing remotely controlled cameras, and using tracking devices on their vehicles. This is a sad reflection on the investigation industry, but it's limited to a small number of individuals and a small number of RTOs that encourage that sort of thing. At the Australian Security Academy, we have never taught, ever, marital and relationship surveillance, and we do not recommend it as an income-generating longevity future for you, the licensed private investigator. So that's really important today. Our focus is on UAVs, unpersoned aerial vehicles, like I'm holding in front of you. And yes, we use them as licensed private investigators. We have other presentations in this series, what we use them for, and it's not for surveillance. So let's get into it. You're flying your UAV recreationally around the park or wherever, and suddenly it drops out of the sky for technical reasons, for a flat battery, for some kind of interference with the communication between the controller and the drone. It could be for any reason. Are you covered if it causes...
Through our database, every IOI drone.
When you purchase your drone, it comes with 1 year full replacement if you lose it or damage it from DJI. Now that's their marketing call, what they do. This is a DJI drone. So when I bought this one 6 years ago, I got 1 year's free insurance, free replacement for it if I lost it, if it took off somewhere and I lost it in the ocean or whatever. Okay, so that insurance is covered for the replacement of the drone, not for any damage it could cause. So you, the private investigator, in the course of doing your investigations, launch one of these things. There it is, and off it goes. And it causes a car accident or it hits electricity poles. What we need to know is, are you covered by insurance, or are you wide open for the rest of your life for the financial burden of replacing that? Let's go through the presentation. Drones are easy to use. They're almost self-flying today, and private investigators, loss adjusters, and government investigators use them in their work. What could possibly go wrong with your drone? I mean, the one I'm holding in my hand weighs 2 kilos. It could impact with something. It could hurt someone. What could happen that could cause you, the operator, to be liable for damage, and are you covered? This is the rhetorical question we're addressing today. Well, you're flying recreationally around the park or in the country to get some wonderful footage of the cows or whatever, and your car hits overhead power lines and causes a devastating bushfire. Can they identify you? Yes, they can trace that drone back to you. It's got serial numbers, it's got everything, and it's like a black box, a flying black box that can come back to you. So they'll know whose drone it was through their system, through the purchase receipts, all that sort of thing. So yes, they do know it's you, and the Civil Aviation Authority, CASA, in Australia are very good at tracking owners of drones. You read on Facebook and places like that continuously that people have found lost drones. It happens very regularly. Very topical information, Tracy. This is good for this one. We're going to find out if we're covered or not. So people lose drones, they fly off, you're operating it and it flies off, you haven't hit the return to home button, it's got confused. In this case, it could have possibly started a bushfire. It could also fall out of the sky, hit a windscreen, someone avoids it and has a car accident as a result of that falling out of the sky. And therefore, you're looking at damage to the vehicle, injury damage to the driver or passengers or other vehicles, whatever. So is this drone covered under your insurance policy? We're gonna find out. And generally, they may be. Models are covered under your home and contents insurance policy. Your home and contents insurance policy is quite a valuable thing to have. How do you know about it? Well, everything that's in your policy is in the product disclosure statement. Your PDS is what you'll hear them call it. It covers the key features of what you're covered for, the exclusions, the claims information, the insurer's complaints handling processes, all in your product disclosure statement. This is your home and contents insurance I'm talking about here. Home and contents insurance can in many cases provide insurance cover for unforeseeable accident caused by you and your drone, even away from your backyard, front yard, inside, or your roof of your house, wherever you may be flying it, which is pretty good. Now, that won't happen in the cheapest possible insurance cover policies, but on your home and contents insurance, you may well be covered for an accident that you cause that results in expensive damage, even away from behind, or even away from the home. Now, models are covered, all right? So it'll say in your product disclosure, the statement, if it's a model, it's covered.
I'm a model, you know what I mean, and I do my little turn on the catwalk, yeah, on the catwalk.
Well, probably not that model, it's more these models. Now, what they're called are RC or remote control models, and they can be boats, aeroplanes, jet planes, whatever. You see them in the toy shop. Your kids may have built them. You may have one yourself. These are generally covered.
This is a $100 RC plane. This is a $500 RC plane. And this is a $1,500 RC jet. This plane can fly over 100 miles per hour. We're gonna put these planes to the test to see which one racks up the most points and see which one is the most epic. Let's get dangy.
So I can fly this plane, so I'll be flying this one today. But to determine which airplane Chris and Michael are gonna get, I'm gonna fly this plane. They're gonna chase after it. Whoever catches it gets the $500 plane. 3, 2, 1.
Catch you guys! Hey! I win! I'm small.
So that insurance for models is covered. But a drone isn't a model. And it's not a model because you didn't build it yourself. Those guys bought a kit and built it. So the drone is not covered. in certain situations. Now, if I'm a licensed private investigator operating here,
If you're feeling how I'm feeling and you know I won't stop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. If I got it and you want it and you'll never let it drop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top.
and I was in this circumstance, I was asked to go and inspect this structure to see if there are any leaks in it. And in order to do so and get the angles required and to be able to see what was going on, I needed to use a drone. Let's have a look at the video I took of it. So I'm using this drone in my hand to inspect that damn wall for leaks. Now, the leaks you saw in the video, they're okay. It was other leaks that I was looking for, and I had to get up close and personal over a wide range. And because of the depth of the water and the river and the marshes and the steepness of the valley and the hill, I couldn't get behind it and up close in front of it. So the drone was the most useful tool to go and do that with. So that is what I used. I was using it for a commercial use. I was getting paid for it. So during that process of inspecting that dam for leaks, my drone, if it caused an accident from falling out of the sky, or it hit power lines, or whatever it did and started a bushfire, I would not be covered under my home and contents policy. The only way I would be covered is to buy separate insurance through my insurance broker for the operation of a UAV, for taking video or photographs for inspections to damage in certain situations. In this situation, it was to a dam wall as a result of logs washing down the river after a flood and hitting the dam wall. The situations are unlimited. Probably one of the most common is roof inspections after hail damage. So I'm inspecting the roof using my drone in the suburbs or the country or the city. I have to have separate insurance other than my home and contents insurance to cover me if the drone causes any kind of financial damage to someone else or injury to someone else. I'm not covered under my home and contents policy because it's for a commercial use. It's very important that you understand that. You can go and fly your drone and look at the pretty mountains and the hay carting from the tractor in the country, as long as you're 100 meters away from the operator of the tractor, and film that recreationally. That is fine. If you cause damage there in that recreational activity, you're covered by your home and contents insurance if you have it. If you don't have it, you're not covered. But if you are doing a commercial activity, operating your drone, which is great fun, and you're taking photographs or video or measurements, or you're searching for lost pets or stolen bulldozers or trucks on large properties where they're hidden, you have to have separate drone insurance, separate insurance to operate that drone. You will also, in those commercial circumstances, more often than not by your insurer, be required to hold qualifications in the operation of the drone. Now, there are exclusions to that due to the size of the drone. The one I've got is quite a small drone. There are smaller ones still, and they don't fall under, you have to have a license to operate them. And I don't think to use them commercially, you have to have a license to operate them either. They're getting smaller all the time. The technology is getting better all the time. Like I said, this one, which I still use today, and is a very good drone, and all its hours of flight are recorded on it. So CASA can come in, check on this drone, download its flight information, where I took the video footage and where I've operated it, what height I've gone up to it, what length its flights were, the days, dates and times is all recorded in this drone. So they can check that. You may be required, if you're going to use larger drones, you definitely will be for power line inspection, that sort of thing, to have the Repel pilot's license through CASA, which is not a certificate 4 in aviation or a certificate 3 in aviation. It's a completely separate thing. And your insurer might want you to have that. So that's a very important consideration if you're operating as a private investigator, loss adjuster, claims manager, mercantile agent, or a government investigator, that you know what insurance you are required to have. And an insurance broker will take 10 minutes to give you an answer on the cost and the affordability of it. With a government department, that's going to be a little bit longer because there's processes in place for that. But you as an individual running your own small investigation or loss adjusting business, you just contact the broker and they will tell you about it straight away. So that's a very important issue, is covering yourself for the potential liability of being sued for the damage that your drone may cause. I hope that covers the subject and answers the question in relation to
Running through our database, every IOI droning.
Building on last week's episode 286 of Spy Curious, we mentioned about basically what qualifications you get in Victoria and other parts of Australia from the Australian Security Academy. So I told you in Victoria, when you receive your qualification, you use to apply to the Victorian Licensing Regulation Division, the police down there. This is the qualification that you will receive. It's a one-page qualification. That is it. There is no certificate. There is no gold seal on it. There is a signature on it. This one hasn't got a signature on it. That doesn't matter. It's just for that purpose. That's what you get in Victoria. That is all that is required. With that document, you also receive your membership of the Australian Security Academy's industry association, which is called Airap. Now, that is a membership of an industry association. QBE, Allianz, Suncorp, Metway want you to have that. Other organisations may want you to have that as well. Do not use that to apply for your Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division Victorian Private Investigator Licence. Only use this one. That's the only one they will accept. Now, in the real world, New South Wales, Queensland, everywhere else, when you get a nationally recognised qualification, there they are with your name on it, Certificate 3 in Investigative Services to become a licensed private investigator, you get a certificate and you get a statement of results. So there's your statement, there's your certificate. There's your statement of results. And you will also get your membership of an industry association. In Victoria, that won't happen for private investigator, for licensing. You only get that one document, which you get a certified copy of made to apply for your license. You hold this one back. You do not give it to the Victorian Police. What is the Academy of Investigation, Risk and Loss Adjusting Professionals all about? Let's find out. I'm sure I got a video on that here somewhere. Was here before. Lost my screen.
Airap is Australia's fastest growing investigation industry association. The Academy of Investigation, Risk and Loss Adjusting Professionals is for Australian Security Academy graduate students. We meet every Friday at 1 p.m. Queensland time for continuous professional development through the United Network of Investigators, Airap, Spy Curious and the Australian Security Academy.
Okay, so that's our industry association. Through our industry association, we expose RTOs and investigators who encourage the use of tracking devices, listening devices, remotely operated cameras in marital and relationship cases, inappropriate conduct and power imbalances in teaching by RTOs, by licensed private investigators who are doing the wrong thing. And we expose them so the industry is doing the right thing by being good at promoting itself. That industry association assists in ensuring that if in the future you want to become a licensed private investigator, no one's going to ask you to go into the back of their surveillance van and get special training with you, because that's what's happened in the past in Victoria. And that's why Victoria is so hard about becoming licensed down there. They're protecting vulnerable people from predators, not only in Victoria, but also in Queensland, who take images of their students in class and share them online on social media. If the student kicks up about it, the power imbalance from that is the RTO, or the licensed private investigator, can take their qualification off them. So it's pretty cruel. We expose that, and by exposing it, we ensure that it can't happen any further. Not only do we expose that, but we do not teach private investigators to do marital and relationship surveillance and become part of coercive control. If you don't know what that is, so we're not spoiling anyone's fun. We're ensuring that people entering the industry are protecting themselves and are protected from predators. Okay, so a really important consideration there. Each week at the Australian Security Academy here on this program, we tell you about job vacancies that are available for investigators, loss adjusters, government investigators, that sort of thing. You can see the job vacancies on this Facebook page, the Australian Private Investigator Corporate and Government Investigation Job Vacancies page. If you're not a student of the Australian Security Academy, ask your RTO to tell you where their page is and sign up for that one. That's really important. Each week, we also have Investigations Uni, where we have a support program for people studying our qualification. In that Facebook page, you can see the RACQ in Queensland are after an insurance investigator. There's a surveillance operative wanted by ProCare down in Canberra. Licensed general insurance investigators are wanted in Victoria and in New South Wales by Quantum Corp. If you're going to do general insurance investigations, you must have a membership of an industry association. This one comes free when you graduate from the Australian Security Academy with your qualifications. So here's an example. You have that qualification, you graduate from the Australian Security Academy, and you get free membership of the industry association. Down in Victoria, as of June next year, you must have a business license, security business license, to be an investigator in that state. This is the qualification you must have in order to get that. It's got your name on it. If you hold that qualification, you can therefore become security business by submitting your application to the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division. There is no longer a requirement to be a member of an industry association such as the AIPI or AISP or anyone like that. That requirement is now gone. The advantage of having this, which you get for free from the Australian Security Academy, and isn't an overpriced membership annually with extra charges to attend CPD, is that not only are you in a network and you have access to Investigation Uni, you also meet all the requirements of Suncorp Metway, Allianz and QBE. Yeah, it's very important advice, Tracy. It's hidden because there are predators, mostly on women, at entry level to the industry. It was taken up in the first place. You've got to admire the audacity of it. It was very successful. They used Facebook to lure vulnerable, want-to-be investigators into training in the field on surveillance into the back of their surveillance vans, right, and sexually assaulted them. When the victims complained to the police about it, it was basically their word against the perpetrators. The perpetrators were so good at it, they just kept getting away with it. The police take it really seriously, but they've got to have proof beyond her word against his word. And there's one person down there that has multiple complaints against them. So raising awareness of this is really important. I know it happens in hospitality. I know it happens in real estate. I know it happens in retail. It's everywhere. But the issue is the industry itself has responsibilities. And the industry must, rather than shove it under the carpet and pretend it never happens, address it and ensure that it promotes itself as an industry that's aware that it happens and doesn't want it to happen. It's limited to 5 or 6 investigators that were involved in it. There were 3 that wanted to become more involved in it, but they got stopped in their tracks. The AIPI actually supported them as an industry association, which actually destroyed the AIPI's credibility in Australia. And it just got worse for them from there. Industry associations have a massive responsibility in addressing these issues, not running away from them. Okay. And I'm glad you pointed that out. Good on you. So we've covered insurances for drones. We haven't covered every aspect that drones are used for. There's a massive demand for the use of drones in finding and recovering stolen motor vehicles, stolen boats, stolen equipment, because large equipment is very hard to hide. And to hide it, they have to have it in a large shed or bury it, right? Which is not uncommon. They've got the capacity to do that, and they do. But if the case comes through quick enough before they can bury it, yes, it can be located. Stolen equipment is a big industry. Stolen trucks is a big industry. Boats and motor vehicles is a big industry in the black market in Australia. We told you about that in the last episode, in particular with stolen motor vehicles, where they're taken out of Australia by a shipping container and they're geolocated in Europe somewhere 6 months later or something like that. So yes, private investigators use drones. Yes, private investigators must be aware that they need specific insurance to use them commercially and protect themselves from liability if damage or an accident results from the use of those drones. I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy. If you would like to meet the requirements to become an investigation security business in Victoria, this is the qualification that you need. I am in Victoria frequently conducting recognition of prior learning interviews in relation to that qualification, and you must have an interview. That's a determination by the regulator ASQA, and it's supported by the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division through its conditions of approval for RTOs, that you must have a face-to-face interview. If you do have a face-to-face interview, you will meet me. You'll be required to show me evidence of you running your investigation business. I don't keep it, I only have to see it. So it will be things like your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, your tax return, anything that proves by third-party documentation that you've run a business. I'd like to see your website. I'd like to see your marketing activities. I'd like to see not just that you've been in business, but you have been an investigator and you've conducted investigations. Now, you might have a log of the investigations you've done. They all do, all right? I just need to see that log. So this isn't proving for Certificate 3 that you are getting RPO as an investigator. You're proving that as an investigator, you've run an investigation business. And if you can demonstrate for licensing purposes only, right, 5 years industry experience, then you can get, whoops, not that one, not that one. Get this qualification and meet the requirements of the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division. Now, there are a lot of people applying right now to get that business license. It's the nature of investigators to comply and stay in business. A lot of them are using their Certificate 4 in Security Risk Assessment, and they might get away with it. I don't know. But on the website, the Victorian Police absolutely specify with no other option, no other alternative. Today, it's there. You can see it on the 16th of September, 2024. The only qualification they have listed and will accept is the Certificate 4 in Security Management. Now, they do some odd calls. They did one during COVID, which I was completely blindsided by and unaware of, and I'm a little bit disappointed about. But they say right now that this is the qualification. If they want to contradict themselves on that, it's going to be interesting, but we will find out and we'll see that. But I don't think they're going to. The COVID call was a little bit iffy. This one's on their website. The rules have got to be goalposts cemented in, not shifting goalposts. They've got to apply equally to everyone. They've got an issue down there at the moment where an RTO, Professional Investigator College of Australia, had over 120 qualifications cancelled and 120 private investigator Victorian licenses revoked, and the investigation is ongoing 5 years later and no penalties have been applied to Professional Investigators College of Australia or International Security Training Academy who are involved in that situation. It was fraud, and basically to this stage they're still under investigation about it. With VISIAC coming in next year and requiring this from everyone, and you're going to have penalties if you don't get it. And Professional Investigator College of Australia, member of the AIPI, haven't got any penalties awarded against them for 120 breaches of the RTOs, conditions of approval for RTOs at the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division. It's going to make very hard work in issuing penalties to people that don't have this and don't have a security risk assessment in place 24 hours before their investigation, which they go and do. Interesting times in Victoria. But anyway, if you want to comply with it, get in touch with me by email and I'll arrange to make an appointment to meet you in Melbourne. First appointments are on the 12th and 13th of October. We're booked out. We're also there on the 16th of October, and that's booked out too, but I'll be back down in November, and I'm down there monthly after that, so you won't miss out on. I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy. Thanks for watching episode 287 of Spy Curious, information for investigators, loss adjusters, government investigators, and remember, it's now official. They're monitoring and they're watching for coercive control in New South Wales and Queensland. Great work, people. And Victoria do a very good job of it too. We'll see you on Friday when we're looking at a whole range of other things on Friday. On Investigations Uni, we've got hail damage, something to look forward to.